Welcome again to Joe Stunner Boxing. Jaron Boots Ennis, I don't think many people would deny he's, a fantastic fighter. He's 26 years old now. He's got plenty of time, and he's already, torn up some trees in the welterweight division. He's the IBF welterweight champ. Spence got stripped of the belt. The IBF are very strict about mandatories, and Boots picked the belt up. He's admitted, he'd like to sort of win it in the ring. But regardless of the belts, Boots is a terrific fighter, and I think a lot of us were hoping that he was going to fight Crawford. Doesn't look like that's going to happen. But you may have read last week that he's in a legal dispute with his promoter, an organisation called Now Boxing, which is no doubt an acronym, but being lazy, I couldn't be bothered to look up what it meant. I don't really care. Now Boxing is what they're called. Now, the dispute is over the amount of fights that Boots has had, and there are definitely long periods of inactivity in his career, which were kind of frustrating if you're a fan, probably frustrating for him as well. He was meant to have 4 fights in each of the first 2 years of his contract, and then 3 fights in each of the remaining 2 years. So that's a total of 14 fights in 4 years. In actual fact, he's only fought 10 times. I think 3 since 2021. He's only had 3 fights since 2021. So he's frustrated about this, and he's taken out this lawsuit, and it's for $1 million compensation as well, or in excess of $1 million. And this is they're going to have to separate at some point. I mean, even if, regardless of which way the lawsuit goes, these two parties are going to have to go their separate ways. Now, Eddie Hearn, here's the interesting thing to me. Eddie Hearn said in an interview he would love to sign Boots Ennis. And I really love the idea of Boots coming over to Matchroom and being part of a British promotional outfit, being on DAZN, because I think he would get regular work there, definitely. I want to see this guy fight. He's an excellent fighter, and I want to see him. I want to see him consistently fight, and I want to see him maximize his talent, because his talent is exceptional, or potentially exceptional. So I think the idea of him coming over to Matchroom is a really interesting one, not just because of Boots, but also because as a welterweight, I just wonder if him coming over to Matchroom would put Conor Benn's nose out of joint. Ben, we all know about his problems with, getting a license in Britain and so on and so forth. I've always said with Ben, I'm not the only person that said this, it's kind of perplexing as to why he's sort of running around looking for Eubank at middleweight, and then he's talking about Javon Davis, who's a lightweight, and all this crap. If you're a welterweight, surely you should be honing in on the welterweight champions, and that's Crawford and Ennis. You should be talking about them. You should be going after them. You should be campaigning for fights with them. Not having stupid Twitter spats with Javon Davis, who's at least 2 divisions lower than you, or trying to lure Chris Eubank, who's at the very least a middleweight, into the ring. Suddenly, Ben would, if Ennis signs with Matchroom, Ben will find that he's got one of those champions in his own promotional, or in the same promotional outfit. I want to see, I'd love to see Ennis against Ben. I think Ennis would smash Ben to bits. However, I don't think that's necessarily something that would make me lose respect for Ben. I mean, to be honest with you, since the PED thing, I don't have a lot of time for Conor Benn. But if he actually took on Ennis and was good to his word that he will fight anyone, and took on one of the main men, one of the top 2 men in his own division, my respect for Ben would actually jump several-fold, to be honest. It would increase. Because that, to me, is what it's about. Again, I've said so many times before, I don't really care about defeats if you're fighting the best men. If you fight the best men, it's like a good example is George Kambosos. I've got massive respect for George Kambosos because, he beat Teofimo Lopez. He went looking for Lomachenko, who wasn't available due to other, I think, reasons that have been quite well covered in the national news anyway, what's going on in his country. So what did he do? He took on Devin Haney. twice, and he lost. And, you know, he's not the best lightweight in the world, George Kambosos, but he'll fight anyone. And he's a warrior, and he's true to his word, and he's been a road warrior prior to the Teofimo Lopez fight. You know, he fought in America, he fought in Britain. So that to me is my kind of fighter. Joshua is another one. I like Joshua because even though he's got 3 defeats on his record, he never ducked anyone. Some people say he ducked Wilder last year, but I don't really buy that. I don't buy that at all. I like Joshua. I don't care about defeats. You know, I'm a boxing fan. I don't have any horse in any specific race. There are certain fighters I really like, and ones that I don't like. Like, I don't like watching certain fighters because I think they're quite dull. I really like watching others because I think they're entertaining. I like fighters because of their talent. But I'm not a fanboy. I don't, if somebody loses, okay, if they got beaten by the better man, fair enough. I don't care. I don't know these men. I don't no vested interest in their careers. I just like watching good fighters. And if they lose, they lose. Who gives a fuck? That's boxing. That's boxing. Sometimes you lose. So yeah, I want to see Ennis at Matchroom is what I'm trying to say, and I like the idea of him maybe fighting in Britain. I'd love to see him fight in Britain. I usually only go to small hall events, but if Ennis fought in Britain on quite a big event, I'd probably go. Because I do think he's potentially one of those sort of generational talents that they talk about. So yeah, give me your opinion on Ennis. What do you think about him? He's going to separate from his current promoter, this Now Promotional, Now Boxing they're called. But I want to see him active. I really do. And what do you think? Do you think he should sign with Matchroom? Maybe you think he should, sign with Top Rank. Give me your opinion on Ennis and where you want to see him go. And yeah, thanks for your time as always. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you can hit the like button as well, that always helps. Looking forward to reading your comments, and bye for now.